Hey everybody, Christian from Treasure Town here, and I'm really excited. Today I spent about 30 bucks on this package, which is a bunch of world currency. It's a seller that I bought from before. He's also helped me out with some other cool videos, giving me material, and he said, I got a bunch of notes in. I was like, awesome. Maybe you could send me whatever you think would be worth 30 bucks as a grab bag, and I'll unbox it for a video. So let's take this one open and I'll go note by note, seeing if there's anything new for my collection and just what the general notes are. Always something that's interesting to me, especially my main start, for those of you that might not know this, with coins and currency, was doing a world currency collection. So I'll enjoy unboxing this and kind of go back to some of my roots, how I started collecting. And here we've got the package, so thanks again to John for sending it, and we're going to tear it open carefully and see what's inside. Also, by the way, check out this awesome assortment of stamps that was used to send it. But layer one down, and here we go. So that looks like some older, maybe Russian currency, but I'm going to flip it around and start on this end. So it looks like we got some cool older stuff right out of the gate. And forgive me, there's likely to be the case that I mess up often and kind of say the wrong note or don't have full historical context, because I don't know these as well. But this looks like a really good assortment for 30 bucks. And yeah, I have a lot of memories, obviously, when I'm going through these, so excited to start the hunt. Our first note looks like there's a date there that says 1925, but that says 1929, and it's probably Czechoslovakian, I'd like to say. And I think it's maybe 50 koruna. And I'm curious if there is some hyperinflation, because I feel like there was also some silver coins with similar values in terms of koruna, how many were there. But that's a good start. After that, let's see if we can find out what this is referring to. It's got some Arab lettering, Arab Republic of Egypt, 1940 10 piastres. So I think that was still, I think that would have been under the rule of Britain, but I could be wrong. This is neat as well, a Turkish note, and I always am interested in what date they are, because there's so many different phases that each of these countries are in. And this one is probably older, 2.5 lira from Turkey, and Thomas de la Rue and Co. I think that means that it was printed by somebody else, by a totally separate from Turkey company. Oh yeah, there it says 1930. Wow, so that is an older one. That's cool. That's a really neat note, and awesome. So this is, I feel like I've seen these before, but Luxembourg, I think it's Luxembourg, 50 franc, and let's see what, the world banknotes are also cool because there's so much different variety in terms of the colors on the notes and what's displayed, the pictures. It says Bradbury, Wilkinson, New Malden, Surrey, England. So this was printed in England, it appears. This one I would like to say is 5 yen from Japan, and probably a little bit older, but that's worth 5 cents, I guess, or so, in terms of its current exchange rate. I think I'll be keeping the bill, but very cool. And then, wow, look at this. A Reichsbanknote 50 Millionen Mark, 1923, hyperinflation during the Weimar Republic, and you can see there wasn't even a reverse design. They were printing so much of this that they obviously want to cut costs, especially if it costs, I don't know if this is true, but it could have cost close to print this, the actual value was. Here we have 50 pesos in 1963 from Colombia, and Camilo Torres apparently is on the front of the coin, and that's some nice flowers, I guess, on the front. This note might be earlier in the hyperinflationary period, and it says 10 Reichsbankdirektorum. I don't know what that really means, but it would have been, interesting. I always am interested by the different colors. There's, especially with these small notes, there can be so much of a variety in terms of the different kind of small issuers in Germany during this period that were putting out coinage. Then we have, there was a little bit of coinage, but mostly currency. Here we have a Brazilian 2 Cruzeiros note, and these are nice and crisp, and I'm trying to see what the date range would have been on it. It's by the American Banknote Company, and I have some of this. I've seen it in the past. It's reasonably common, but there are still definitely some nice notes, and certainly varied in terms of what colors are featured. This one looks like a 50. I always forget how to pronounce this. I want to say dumb is how you would say it. And 50 of them from Vietnam. And this would have been printed. Let's see if we can find out what the date is. It's tougher to do it live when you. I can't really quite tell, but I'll try to do some retroactive updates. Here, this is a note. I've never seen anything like it before. 1955, probably from Israel. 5 lira, maybe. Yeah, it's Bank of Israel, and I forget exactly what the denomination would be, but that's a cool note. Bank of Jamaica, £5. This one's older. Looks like Queen Elizabeth, and 1960. It was issued £5. I wonder. I don't even know if. I think Jamaica is now on dollars, so cool to see them having. You can tell that it's pounds. It says on the back, or it says right there, but that's also the symbol for pound. We've got another Vietnamese note, 100, and hopefully I'm not continuing to say dumb incorrectly. 20 as well, so a nice little denomination run. We got the Croatian bank here, 100 or 1,000 kuna from 1943, so that was World War II, and I'm not really sure what role Croatia had really in the World War. That would be something I should probably learn. This is Yugoslavian, 1965, 10 dinara. An interesting kind of industrial scene on the back. Ooh, and check that out. Belgium, 5 francs, and 1938 is the date. So this, you can see their monarchs, and this really has a feel of being used in an old kind of World War II era feel, because I think that they fell very soon into World War II. This one's an older note, and it looks like somebody wrote 10 cents. Wow, is this actually, let's see. So 10 lire, what does that writing say? I think this says Italy, and this might say 7/14/44. So I wonder if this was actually from the World War, and somebody like picked it up in Italy. That would be unbelievable. And I've heard that that sort of thing exists. Maybe it was retroactively applied kind of as a fake, but imagine, some maybe British or American soldier got into Italy in 1944, July 14th, and wrote, commemorated that. That's a really special note if that's what I think it is. And wow, look at this. Ghanaian note, 20 cedis, 1979. I don't have too much currency from this country. I think I have one note, but Bank of Ghana, very interesting. And it's cool how varied the origin of all of these notes are. We've got 2. These are I think they're also Croatian. 1 and 5 dinars. Another Vietnamese note. So this one doesn't have too much in the way of patterns or that sort of thing, but still cool. 200, and really hoping that dumb is the right way to pronounce it. Then we've got, this might be Pakistani. It looks like 1 rupee of some sort. That's what I'd venture to guess that it is. And then this appears Chinese. The Central Reserve Bank of China, 5 yuan, 1940. There can be some valuable older Chinese currency, so I'll have to look into that. We have a Romanian 1 lu, a 1,000 mark Reichs banknote. And this one's from 1910, so I wonder if this was like an inflationary period leading up to World War I, where there would have been instability. That's I want to say that's the German Empire. That's the seal. You see it on their coins as well. And check this out. I've seen some crisp ones of these. These are 10 ruble notes from 1909. This one certainly has some circulation, but it's cool to think that this was trading probably in Imperial Russia, over 100 years ago. This one, that looks like maybe Genghis Khan. I honestly have no idea where this is from, but I'll have to look more into it. 5 of something. And then we have a 100 mark from 1900, so that's nice and early. And it says Bayerische Banknote. So let's see what this says on the back. I'm assuming that this would be from like Bayern or something. Maybe it was a provincial note, because it doesn't seem to have the same kind of national unity, but really gorgeous art on that. That is a nice looking note. Wow. Yeah, and it comes through nicely in the screen as well. Then we have a Malaya and British Borneo dollar. I don't even know that's awesome. I don't think I have a note from that country, so I do have a little typeset. Maybe I'll show me putting it in, assuming that I don't have any of them already. This one's from 1959. We've got a Chilean 10 peso note. Let's see what else. This one looks like maybe 10 lirat again from the Bank of Israel. And I haven't really seen any of their older notes, so really enjoying that. Looks like we got another one of the Turkish notes, then a 10 pesos from Mexico, 1969, so this has long been demonetized, but cool to have some of that older currency. Then we get a half note from Israel, also in that same time period, maybe the late 50s here, 1958. After that, we're going to get this, which this kind of looks more like a Japanese note to me. Maybe it's 50 yen, but I'll have to do my research. Then we've got a 20 korun from Czechoslovakia. Looks very serious there. Quite a portrait to have. But this one's from 1926, so that is definitely an older note. At least that's what the date on the note says. It might be a little bit off. Here's a Cruzeiro from Brazil. This looks a little more modern. We'll see if we can figure out if that's true. And that looks like a really, well, I'm not sure. I can't tell if this is just a different number, like this is April 13th, 1974. Because look at that, A00046. So that could be an extremely early note in terms of, what sequence it is. I think that would be the lowest serial number I've ever found on a note for sure. Here we've got this looks like maybe Austro-Hungarian. I'd like to say, yep, Deutsch Österreich, 1 Corona or Krone. And sorry for the brief interruption, but then we have what looks like another older German Empire note. This one is 100 marks, 100. And yeah, I am curious if this would have been worth a lot of money back then, because I know some of the 1 and 2 and 3 mark coins were pretty large in silver, so maybe this actually was quite a pricey item. After that, we've got, let's see, this one looks like 1 ruble. Oh, no, is this a Bulgarian one? I think it might be from Bulgaria, and I want to say that 1961 isn't worth as much anymore, and maybe I'm wrong. It might not be Bulgaria. It might be Transylvania or something like that. CCCP, it actually looks like the Soviet Union. So I think that this is 1 ruble from the Soviet Union. That's cool. I don't have any notes that I know of from there. Then we have a 5,000, 1922 hyperinflationary note. What looks like another yen, 50 yen probably, and 10 yen from Japan. After that, we've got 10 Turkish lira, also from that 1930-ish range, as well as a 10 yen from Japan. I'm continuing to assume. Here's some more South American Bolivian note, 1,000 bolivianos, and this one, the House of Liberty, it looks like, probably an important government building. After this looks like 10 sen from Indonesia. These have been around for a long time. And this one might be maybe Burma or Myanmar, something like that. 1 rial. So I think that means Cambodia. And yeah, Cambodia down there is going to confirm that. And wondering about the date, because there was a lot of bad things that happened in Cambodia in the 70s and 80s, I want to say. 1965 Mexican 1 peso. So this time there was also the 10% Morelos peso coin, which were 10% silver, or you could have been using this note, which was made in 1965. Those 10% coins are some of the lowest ever in the modern era. This one I believe is a Chinese note, and probably low value, but still a cool note to have. 100 pesos from Chile here. Then we've got something that looks like a 5 kirsch, maybe from Egypt, I want to say, or maybe it's 5 piastres. Yep, the Arab Republic of Egypt, 1940. So I don't know if that's the queen, like an old queen, or but we've got another repeat note here, half lirat, 100 rubles from Belarus. This one's from 1992 and a little bit worn. I've seen a lot of more crispy ones. There's a Banco Central do Brasil, 100 cruzados, And this one, it's a nice looking note. I want to find out what date this was printed. And I'm struggling to see that information. Maybe is that, no, it would, man, I'm not sure, but I like that design actually quite a bit. Here's a more inflated Argentinian note, 500 or 500 pesos, 500, and this is interesting. There's a lot of inflation that has happened periodically in Venezuela, or in Argentina and Venezuela, with Argentina also seeing a lot of that. There's actually an official and unofficial exchange rate at the moment, so it's different based off of, is this official, what can you exchange it, and what can I actually purchase. This one is a 1 rupee 1967 from India, and this is very small note. And 1 rupee is not worth particularly much these days, at least. This is another Turkish 1935 lira note. What looks like more repeats of a Cambodian one, a 5 pesos from Chile, then a 50,000 mark 1922. So we're getting quite a lineup here. And then a little bit, this is a 2 marks. This is what I was talking about in terms of the different issuing entities doing their own things. This was from, I can't tell exactly where, but 2 marks, and it looks like there's a, let's zoom in and see what that says. It says Magistrat der Stadt Beckham. I'm not exactly, yeah, it looks like Beckham, but I think that this was more of a provincial currency as opposed to being officially authorized by the government, and they all have these beautiful reverse designs. So that's a really pretty looking note there. I don't know if that's maybe a fable or something like that. The next note is going to be this 10 note, which looks Chinese, I would say, though I'll have to confirm that. Another 1,000, or I think it's our first today, 1950, 1,000 drachma from Greece, so that's interesting. Then we get a 1,000 mark note from 1922, which I don't think we've seen before. We get a crisp Luxembourg American Banknote Company. Let's see what the date is. 10 francs. And I don't know. Is that ceux qui auront contrefait du falsifié des bons de caisse seront punis des travaux forts de 15 à 20 ans. Alors, so basically what they're saying is it's on the note that you can go to jail, I think, for counterfeiting for like 15 to 20 years. Still not so sure about what date this was actually issued in, though. Then we get some more neat Notgeld. This one is Stadt Beckham as well. 25 Pfennig, I would assume. But they always have these really pretty and elaborate designs. So this is definitely, I think, my favorite note so far today. Just with the gorgeous design on the reverse. That's a really pretty note. And lastly, we're going to finally get to it. 1918. It looks like, I don't know, maybe 100 rubles. I'm not even convinced. I think that this is Russian. It looks like the Russian alphabet, but I could be way off, and I'll have to follow up with you. But yeah, I'd certainly say that this was a fun hunt for $30. I think getting the $30, maybe I'd have to solve it in a lot, or maybe it's worth a little bit more. I'm actually not exactly sure, but there's a few that I'm going to have to see if they're going to work for my typeset. I think the Malaya and Borneo one is the one that will fit into it for today, but so much that I'll have to kind of go and research at this point. But as you can see, the fun thing about collecting world currency is you can get such a variety for relatively low cost and learn so much about the different places based off of their currency history, kind of how it compares to what they have now. And, here it says the Socialist Republic of Romania. So there we know that whenever this was, it was a Socialist Republic. Interesting there. Then we see something like the Central Reserve Bank of China realized that they were printing bills with English on them. And I'm not exactly sure, but I know that there was some long ties to England and the States and just a lot of Western influence there. And then Vietnam, I'm not sure what I could gain from this note, but I'll look it up and certainly try to understand who that person is. Maybe there's some historical significance. Whereas this one, for our last one, I'm still not sure what this is from, but there's so much kind of cool research and world research that's involved in the process. Thanks for watching the video. I'd encourage you to like, comment, and subscribe for more content, and get in touch with me on my website, treasuretownYT.com, Facebook, Treasuretown, Instagram @TreasuretownYT, or Twitter @Treasuretown_YT, and I'll look forward to seeing you on some of my future vids.